My name is John Sihna, and I'm involved with Occupy Democracy.
And I'm just wondering what inspired this particular campaign at this particular time?
Well, we had a feeling within the Occupy movement that we had a crisis in democracy in this country, that the word itself had lost its meaning. We're supposed to live in a democracy, but nobody voted for policies which government is imposing on us. Nobody voted for fracking. Nobody voted for NHS privatisation. Nobody voted for the tripling of tuition fees. In that case, it was a direct betrayal of the voter. And many other policies are just being imposed on the government simply because they think, well, we've got a majority in Parliament, so we can do what the hell we like. It appears to us that they don't represent us. And if they don't represent us, who are they representing? I think it's the big corporations. And we think the problem isn't so much with austerity, although clearly it is devastating to people. The problem is deeper. It's with the entire Westminster system of government.
So what kind of measures do you think people within Occupy have suggested so far about how to possibly change the system of government, or what kind of obviously, and I know, as having been sort of affiliated with Occupy, that it's not about making new policies, but what ideas have people suggested from within Occupy that have come?
Well, we've got a demand about a demand. So our demand is real democracy now, and we need to start a debate about what does real democracy mean in this country.
Is it even possible to have that debate, considering the lack of democracy we currently have in terms of representation? Well,
you see the extraordinary lengths the state goes and the Mayor of London goes to prevent us from having this discussion in a square whose original purpose was for the citizen to petition Parliament. That's why this ground is open. So people from all over Britain could come, peasants in their wagon carts could come, and they perhaps wouldn't have the money to stay in an inn, so they could camp out here. That's the original purpose of this square.
And what do you think has caused that sea change in Westminster Police and the London Authority to make this area unusable? Why do you think Why do you think it's become such a bête noire for Boris?
Well, it's kind of the way that politics is banalised. I call it the banalisation of politics. Everything is reduced into a banality. So the need to protect the grass overrides our right to be here to demand real democracy now, to exercise a democratic political right.
I'm just noticing there's some sort of thing going on behind you, and I was just wondering what's going on over there.
I have no idea. I think they're snatching some of the banners, the heritage goons, Boris Johnson's heritage goons, Jobsworth's, who are enforcing the silly bylaws, taking bits of placards and banner material.
Has there been any attempt to challenge bylaws, to challenge the authorities
here? There will be challenges as a result of what we've done here this week.
And is that going to go through the court system?
Yeah, but the thing is, it takes time.
Do you have any faith in the British judicial system to actually come out on the side of protesters, or do you think it's really just...
Well, I think we need to use the laws that we have to protect our rights. Of course, at the end of the day, those with power, Parliament, writes the laws. But we often see that the law and the state are not the same thing. Often the state, the police, will break the law in order to defend the interests of privilege and power in this country.
So, John, just if you could just maybe explain what are your personal reasons for getting involved in Occupy, and just tell me through a few of the things that you've been involved in.
Well, I've been an Occupy activist since October 2011. And before that, I had been following the movements in Spain and the Egyptian Revolution, and those events in the Middle East of now nearly 3 years ago. And I was inspired by that to get involved in the Occupy movement in October 2011, and I've been involved in Occupy since then. And this is, one of our next big project. I think this is the next big project of the Occupy movement in London.
Why do you think it's taken almost 4 years to go from St.
3.
Paul's to here. 3 years.
Well, I think what happened was after St. Paul's, people went into different movements and networks. Some people got involved in anti-fracking campaigns. Some people got involved in local anti-cuts groups. For instance, there was the occupation of the the library in Barnet, for instance. We did the Leighton marches. We tried to protect the Leighton marches from being concreted over into a car park for the Olympics. Many different little campaigns people were involved in. So people didn't go away, but we felt there was a need for us to come back together and to bring back all these people together and to unite around the issue of democracy. Because that's a common thread that runs through all these issues, is our lack of power and the abuse of our democracy by those with power.
And talking about that abuse, I mean, I wasn't really aware of what was going on.
Yeah.
I just saw some headlines yesterday, which is why I came down today. Why? So can you maybe just explain to people listening in what has been happening over the last week and what kind of police tactics have been being used?
Well, people have been trying to exercise their civil right to protest by displaying banners, and obviously people have been coming from all over the country, and they have no means of staying anywhere else because squatting has now been criminalised. So people have to sleep, and they have to. And we've called a 9-day occupation. So we occupy for 9 days, but we've been frustrated and harassed by the so-called heritage wardens, the mayor's heritage wardens, who have been basically harassing us and preventing us from exercising our democratic rights, fencing off the grass.
What day did that happen on?
It's happening now, actually. I mean, I've just seen
Friday.
about half a dozen police chasing a protester up and down the middle of the road for a pizza box with some marker pen on it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, the occupation, we're not calling it a protest. We think this goes beyond protest.
Right.
We think actually protest has been devalued and has lost its meaning. So we're calling this an occupation and a demonstration of our demand for real democracy now. And we've been trying to exercise our rights, and the mayor's so-called heritage wardens have been just interfering with us, practicing our right.
So there's been quite a lot of arrests, I believe.
There have been numbers of arrests. I myself have been arrested and charged with infraction of various bylaws. So many other people been arrested, for sitting on a tarpaulin in Parliament Square. Absurd stuff,
And are there any actual criminal proceedings going to come from those, or is it just a bullying tactic?
I don't know if it's criminal proceedings, for instance, the bylaw says, and the laws say, you cannot use sleeping equipment. So you can't erect a tent, you can't put a sleeping mat or a sleeping bag. You can't lay that on the square or erect any type of structure. But then they keep on reinterpreting the regulations, the bylaws, in a more and more restrictive manner. So on Saturday it was okay on Friday to sit on a tarpaulin, and then by Sunday it's no longer acceptable because it could be used as sleeping equipment. It could be adapted, or they change their interpretation of the law as they go along. Basically, it's not about the law. It's about the state saying, we don't want you around here, we don't want you to be visible, we want you not to exist. They just basically don't want us to exist.
Where would you like to see, what would you like to see happen in the future? So from here, where would you like to go? Because you're closing down the camp tomorrow, I believe, and what do you think will happen
I think we're
afterwards?
going to have a debate and discussion tomorrow, where next. I think our job here isn't over. We've just started. I think we need to go back to Parliament Square, revisit it at some point, maybe later, maybe next month, and reoccupy the square again. But this time I think we need to do it with thousands of people, not a few hundred. And then we need to say to the mass media in Britain, okay, you've ignored us, but are you still going to ignore us when we're 30, 40,000?